anxiety and you don't even know it. You're carrying all of those unread messages with you everywhere you go. I just shared the asset we have. It's called the Clear Communication Reset. It's exact instructions on what to do to reset your inbox and do it in a way where you're not going to lose everything. If that's your fear, is like I have to keep all 77,000 unread emails because there might be something in there. There's a way to do it. And then, you know, just go to AI and ask it what's a way I could organize my inbox. I have Gmail. How could I organize it? How can I filter out social and marketing? And how can I do this? How can like it will give you strategies to build a really robust, well-maintained inbox. So, and then there are tools like Fixer AI, FYXER that are, they just sort your email for you. It's like an assistant in your email. So, but I mean, Chase, I could talk about this all day long because I think it's so important, but just in the interest of time, I'd love to.
Yeah, I think just let's wrap a bow on it. The takeaway is this, like our phone is going to notify you that you need to look at something. But what is it actually notifying you? And if you get constant pings for text messages and it's spam, then you probably eventually will start to ignore ones that matter. Or you'll be late to ones that matter. You're like, oh shoot, I should have responded to this, and it's an hour or 4 hours or the next day. And so those notifications are critical to manage. Like, what do you want getting your attention? Do you really want TikTok telling you that a new reel that you might be interested is going viral? Do you really want, is that what you want? You want it to interrupt whatever you're doing to do that? If not, turn it off. Same with Snapchat, same with Instagram, same with Facebook. Like, optimize this tool to help you, not distract you.
Love it.
Okay. Cool. So Monday, Brent, we typically talk about markets. We don't always have to, but Brent agreed that I could nerd out a little bit today. That's what he said earlier. So I wanted to walk you guys through how you can utilize the data in your market to have better conversations with your buyers and sellers. And I'm going to do that first by showing you something that on the surface might seem complicated, but it's actually really, really, really simple once you understand it. So if you're bad at math, like hang in there. If you're bad at numbers or you don't understand how stuff works, like couple caveats for you. One, this is recorded, so you can just go back and watch it. Two, you only really need to understand the formula. And these are not complex formulas. I mean, we're talking like you need to know a couple numbers and you'll be able to figure stuff out. So any other context we should add here, Brent?
I mean, you know where I'm going to go with this. Once you learn it and understand it, build a project in one of your AIs, tell it what you want it to do, and then all you have to do is put in a few basic numbers, and then it'll kick out the end result for you automatically. So,
Yeah. So I'm going to show you how I've done it for over 20 years and just so you can know how to do it manually. And then when you have this data, you can extract it. And why I think it's important is understanding what the data means and how to interpret it builds confidence in you and makes it easier for you to have conversations with your clients.
mm-hmm.
So while this might seem like, I really don't want to waste time thinking about that, it actually can be very beneficial for you. So first of all, we're going to go over absorption rates. That's what we're going to start with, is calculating absorption rates. So I'm in Idaho. I'm just going to pull up a neighborhood. Brent, is it okay if I use your neighborhood?
Sure.
All right. So the first thing we want to do is we want to figure out how many homes are active in the neighborhood. Or I guess we actually want to figure out sold. We'll start with sold. It's a little easier. So sold, we'll just use Movado. Is it estates, greens, or village?
The states.
Okay. And then we're going to use the last 12 months as our date range. So the only data we're pulling here is what is sold in the last 12 months in this one neighborhood. Okay. That's the data so far. If you don't know how to do that, go talk to your broker or team leader or a peer in your office. Go to the MLS, pull a class. But this is showing that we've sold 13 homes in the last 12 months. Okay. That's honestly all I need. I don't even need to look at the data. I just need to know the number 13. So I'm going to write that down. I'm going to say they sold 13 homes in the last 12 months. So now all I'm going to do is switch this over to active and say, how many are active? And now there is 4 active. Okay. Everyone with me so far? Not super complicated. Okay. So now all I need to do is figure out, okay, 13 homes sell in 12 months. So I take 13 and I divide it by 12. That means that just over 1 sell per month. Okay. So it's 1.083. So now there's 4 on the market is what it shows. So I take 4 and I divide that by that number, the 1.083. So I'm dividing the velocity. Sorry, let me make sure I'm explaining what we're doing here. We're figuring out the sales velocity per month. When we figure out 13 sold over the last 12 months, we figure out just over 1 sales per month. That's the sales velocity. There's 4 on the market. We divide that by the sales velocity. That's going to give us 3.69. So essentially we have 3.7 months of what, Brent? Months of supply, right?
Yeah, inventory supply.
Yep.
So I don't know if this is the right place to talk about it, but the question I have now is if I'm talking to a seller and they absolutely have to sell in the next 30 days, what am I doing?
Well, I think there's a couple things you could look at. You can go a little deeper, and this might not be the right place. We might want to finish this exact topic before we go on. So let me put a bow on this, and then we'll go in. I want to do one more with larger numbers so people can understand it. This is pretty simple. It's just one neighborhood because you can do this for cities. Why would I do this for a city? Maybe I'm wanting to gather data for an Instagram post, Brent. I'm wanting to say like, hey, did you know that in the city of Boise blank, or in this zip code blank, or in these neighborhoods blank, right? What are some other things you typically want to understand? Just baseline. Traditionally, between 5 and 7 months of inventory is what's considered a balanced market. So if you have less than 5 months supply, that means that there's not enough homes on the market for buyers, so it's considered a seller's market. That means the sellers have more control. They can maybe sit at a higher price for a little longer. They can maybe negotiate a little harder. Maybe they're even getting multiple offers, right? If they're under 5 months of supply. If you're in between 5 and 7, it's neither a buyer or seller's market, right? It's balanced is what we call it. If you're over 7 months of supply, then you would be considered a buyer's market. And that means buyers are going to get lots of choices. They can negotiate more, et cetera. So that's essentially what we're talking about there.
Well, and when you know that, then when you're converting this over for, like you said, an Instagram post, for example, you can now translate what that means. Hey, city is, has X amount of inventory. Here's what that means for you.
Yeah.
Comment blank, and I'll send you the full whatever. Right?
Yeah. So this would be like if I was maybe I'm wanting to put a door knocker together for this neighborhood, or maybe I have an open house in the neighborhood and I want to put some data together. This is like very neighborhood specific. Let's back it out and let's do sold again. But let's do a larger area. We'll get rid of Movado Estates and we'll just say, we'll just do a zip code. So we'll say 83646. That's kind of North Meridian. So in the last 12 months, I'm going to write this down. We have 1,602 sales. So much larger area, obviously. 1,602 divided by 12. I'm figuring out how many sell per month. That's equals 133.5. So 133 and a half homes sell per month. Now I want to flip this and say, well, how many are active? And I'll show you one more nuanced thing, Brent, and then I think I can dig in a little bit deeper. So there's 331 active. So if we take 331 and we divide it by that months of sales per month, the average sales per month is 133.5. We have 2.5 months of supply, 2.47. So, okay, let's just say I want to tweak this even more. And I want to say Meridian, how many sold over 1.5 million? Oops, wrong way. Let's do minimum 1.5 million. So in Meridian, the last 12 months, there's only been 24 sales. So now we got 24. I can divide that in my head. That's 2 per month, right? So 24 divided by 12, that's 2. Now I go to active. How many are active? 16. Woo.
Ooh.
Starting
Ooh.
to see that we got a little bit more month supply. So 2 sales per month goes into 16. How many times?
8.
Hey, there you go. So we have 8 months of supply over 1.5 million. So in Meridian, over 1.5 million, is it a buyer's market or a seller's market?
It's buyers.
It's a buyer's market. Does that make sense? So I know we're kind of nerding out here, and I guess before I move on, I just want to make sure I know Brent understands it. Good job, Brent. This what's going through your guys' heads here as you're seeing this? This is pretty. I mean, it's kind of complicated, but it's also pretty basic. So
Go ahead.
Chase, I just have a quick question.
yes,
Does it make a difference how many, when you're talking to a buyer or seller, how many total homes are in a neighborhood? Like if there's 1,200 homes in Movado Estates and only 13 sell a year, you might want to jump on one that comes available.
uh, Stacy, okay. Look at what we're looking at. We're looking at how many sell in the last 12 months, and we're looking at
Right.
how many are active. So the amount of homes inside the neighborhood probably determine how like those two numbers, but I think
Okay.
those two numbers tell the story. I don't
Yeah,
think you actually need to know.
for instance, if the subdivision was bigger, there would have been more
Probably.
statistically more sales and more active, but them divided into each other probably would have told a similar story, is what
Okay.
Chase.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Kat says easy math. Thanks for breaking down. Perfect. Look at that. I got a fan. I got a nerd fan. Even Francesca says she wants to be a nerd. This is nerd level like 1.0, by the way. This is like nerd 101. I've got a few master classes if we want to go there someday, but anything else on this before I can show you some more stuff inside of this that I might want to be looking at too, Brent. But I just want to start here. Like, what's the market? Is it a buyer's market or is it a seller's market? A lot of this can just be simply used to say, like, hey, buyer, you want to buy a $1.5 million home in this area? Great news. It's a buyer's market. So we're going to have a lot of choices, and we're going to be able to be a little bit more picky. And a lot of choices. There are only 16, so maybe that's not entirely accurate, but we're going to be driving the ship here. So, and if we go to those solds, some other numbers we could look at if we want to go a little deeper, go to the solds, and you can hit search here. Now, not everyone's MLS is going to be identical to this, but this will spit out some pretty decent information for us. So you can actually, one of the numbers I like to look at inside my MLS is I want to look at the, first the original price versus the actual sold price. And this is kind of wild. This one originated at 1.9 and sold at 3.2. So it must have been like a build job or something. So that not all the data is going to be like 100% good to go, right? Because I'm assuming that they listed this. Let's just dig in. Yeah, it was a to be built. So they started with something smaller. Then they changed the price.
Got him.
Yeah. Oh, it says pending at 1.9. Pending at 1.9. Back on market at 3. I'd probably have to call the agent to find out what happened. My guess is they probably listed a specific home, then someone else came in and wanted to build something else. That's my guess because it's so far off.
Yeah.
But how can you use this data? There's a number of different ways you can actually use this data. Inside of your most people do. I know we got some MLS that's out of the area. Do you guys use Paragon? Is Paragon your MLS or is it a different service? Seeing some nods.
Yeah, Paragon's ours.
Paragon. How about, I know Ashley, you're in Spokane, right? What do you guys use up in Spokane? She might have fell asleep.
We in Southeast Idaho, Navica.
You use
Black-
Navica,
But then if you go to Pocatello, it's Paragon.
Paragon.
Yep.
Yeah, I think isn't Brent McCall's Navica, right?
Yep.
I think Nicole's Navica.
Yep.
So I've dealt with that too. You can pull some of that data. Navica's, in my experience, at least the one we have in McCall, Navica's not quite as robust as Paragon. But if you have these fields, you can go in and customize the data you want. So you can see I've got a lot of data inside of here. You don't need all this stuff. But some of the ones I'm looking at, original price versus actual sold price, that can show you what people are listing at versus what they're actually selling at. Now, why do I use that number, Brent? I use it for two reasons. This is actually, I know there's some top producers on here. This is one of my favorite ways to use this is how I compare to the MLS.
Mm.
So if I'm pulling like I know Kyle, you're in Lewiston. If I'm pulling Lewiston sales, I would pull all of Lewiston sales and maybe exclude my own. And I would see a couple of data points that I would look at. So from one point would be like, what was the original asking price versus the actual sold? And the gap there is, it depends on the market, but it could be like 3%, 7%. I know in our market here, Brent, I think it's 92% is the average sold versus the original asking. And then we show our percentage. Our percentage is more like 97%. So we frame that data versus the MLS and we say we get 5.5% more than the average realtor.
That's called the language of real estate. That's basically using statistics to compare
Tell your story.
the whole versus you, and then identifying the value propositions that differentiate you from the market. And then you use that in your marketing. You use that in you use it in a listing presentation, pre-listing, buyer presentation. You can put it on your website. Any of that information. By the way, that type of information, for what it's worth, anything you can find that sets you apart, that you can put onto, if you're an independent agent, individual agent, and you have a website, if you put that information on your website, AI will use that information when they're recommending agents online. So if you have significantly better stats and you put that as a differentiator on your website, AI will leverage that to say, hey, I recommend Brent because he gets 5% more for when he sells homes compared to the average agent.
Yeah, basically you're using the data to tell your story, right?
Correct.
And if for whatever reason the data is, conflicting, it's probably a story you don't want to tell, right? So find the data point that does tell a story that you want. And you could do this, by the way, for your brokerage. If you don't have, maybe you're brand new or you're just getting started, you don't really have your own numbers, you could use your brokerage's data, check how that is. How's your brokerage compare to the rest of the MLS? You could use your team if you're on a team. There's a number of ways you can pull that.
Well, and by the way, I know we have lenders on here. The same goes for you. Like when you're going out and talking to agents and trying to get their business, having your statistics and what helps you differentiate and using data to show that, I think that's equally as important. So Chase, we have 5 minutes left and I want to talk about how we might use that at a listing appointment, right? To get someone to, as we're talking through pricing in comparison to what their goal is. Meaning, go back to that Movado example. There was 4 active, right? And only 1 sell per month. So theoretically, if nothing else comes on the market, which we know stuff's going to come on the market, but theoretically, if nothing else comes on the market, those 4 are going to sell over the next 4 months.
Yep.
Right. And so if I need to sell in the next 30 days and all of 4 of those homes are similar to mine, what does that tell me? And then how do I use the absorption rate to help the seller understand where we need to be?
Yeah. So, it might sound obvious, but getting the seller to get on the same page with you is where you need to go. So if one sells per month and there's 4 months supply, there's 4 on the market, and basically one's going to sell per month, and you need to sell this month, you need to be the one that sells, which means you need to beat the competition. Like, you are in a competition for selling your home in Movado. How do you win the competition? So personally, I'm going to be looking at, pricing. So if they're very similar homes, I'm probably going to really focus in on price per square foot. If they're all really different, then I'm going to be looking at value. Like, how does this compare based on the rest of the homes? Like, if I'm a buyer and I have X amount of money, let's say it was $1 million home. If I have $1 million and I had to buy one of these 4 homes, which one am I going to buy and why? And so, yeah, oftentimes I'll pull those 4 listings up and I'll show them to them, Brent, and I'll say, okay, let's rank these 4. Have them tell me why each one is their choice or not their choice. Then when we go to present their home, we can be like, well, remember you said this one was too small, or the colors were funny, or the kitchen was small, or you didn't like the backyard size. Or anything that might be something that negates their own home. Just remind them that when they're trying to push the price, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
The long of the short with the absorption, if you want to sell them, the easy story is you have to be, if they're all the same, like similar homes, similar sizes, similar price points, which in Movado, that would be the case. They'd all be similar. You'd have to be the best priced with the best positioning in order to win in the next 30 days.
Yeah. How do we become the best value of these 4?
Yeah, you would have to.
Or
right?
you're gonna make it number 5 even. So you got to beat the other 4 out.
So we leverage absorption in the conversation to bring so the marketing triangle, guys, we teach the marketing triangle. It's a triangle. The bottom is data, then it goes up to price, then it goes to positioning, then it goes to exposure. As agents, we fall into the trap of explaining marketing to a seller and we only go into exposure. Here's all the places I'm going to show your house.
Yeah.
The data, that's the bottom for a reason. We would use the absorption to help the seller understand where the price needs to be. And then we would talk about how we're going to position it to win. Like, what story are we going to tell? What's our avatar? What buyer are we attracting into this? And how do we get them to look at ours over anybody else's? So that's why what Chase is teaching today is so incredibly important if you're a listing agent or if you go take listings, is if you're truly going to follow the marketing triangle, which everybody on this call should do. And if you don't know what that is, go watch the video. It's in our closed Facebook group. Just look up marketing triangle. It will save you so much time and effort with your sellers. It will position them to have a good constructive conversation around pricing. And when they come and they, hit you up and say, what are you doing to market my home 45 days from now and it's not selling? You get to say, well, let's go back to the marketing triangle. Let's look at the full scope here and figure out what's going on. Now they're not attacking your exposure. You're actually bringing them into a collaborative conversation using the data, which is so important, which is why Chase is talking about this today. And it's so important for you guys to understand.
Yeah.
Right.
I just got the data super fast so we can show them the lore, by the way.
Okay, cool.
You were talking about how to position that. So you can see this is a document we actually build every year. We build a brand new one based on the previous year. And so, we obviously sell a lot of homes. So we leverage that. Now, if I was a solo agent, maybe I don't sell as many homes. So I'd be like, hey, you're only going to deal with me. I'd leverage that. Like, you're not going to get passed off, quote unquote, right? How long does it take to sell the homes? Right? There's 30% less. And then the more money for you. So when we pull data, the average MLS gets 92.5. We get 97.5. So we're going to get 5% more, which is a really cool tool to call like a for sale by owner. Right? Like, hey, what's causing you to sell it on your own? Oh, you don't want to pay commission. Well, let me actually show you our stats compared to the average. So anyways, I just wanted to show them that. And I know we're right at the end of time here. So any thoughts, questions, comments?
I use this all the time.
The
And there's
absorption.
oh Go ahead,
Go
David.
ahead.
Kyle, then David. Kyle, then David.
Yeah, I use this all the time. I think it sets clear expectations for certain clientele, especially sellers. And on the buyer side, like when your months of inventory is sub 2, like there's no going in $20,000, $30,000 low on an offer. And so setting those expectations and like there's tools, and so you don't have to do the math if you don't love math, that you can set up certain areas and just bounce through them super quick and give like I give Tuesday updates to all my sellers and like, hey, this is where we're at. Like, Washington's really slow. Like no homes over 900,000 have sold in the last 6 months. Like don't expect it to move fast, and explain why and set those expectations before even taking a listing. And then they understand, they know it's data. It's not like you're just making up a story. And so, yeah, use it all the time.
All right.
You saw a few homes too.
David, you got anything? Get us out of here.
I was gonna say it's a simple, easy touch for past clients that purchased a home. They kind of, I'm sure they'd like to know, like, is it a seller's market in their neighborhood or is it a buyer's market in their neighborhood? And
I love that idea. That is
Yeah.
such a simple thought, but so freaking powerful. Just call and update people if they're in a buyer or seller market based on their neighborhood. I freaking love that.
Okay, guys, go crush it. We'll be coming back tomorrow with a takeaway from one of our favorite books. So show up early and when we get going.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.